Well, welcome to Takeout Tuesday as we continue our series, moving forward into our future without fear. I'm sure at this point in time, wow, with all the challenges that lay before us, with all the uncertainties, with all the conflicting news, the forecasts that are one way here and one way the other about when, where, and how we somehow get back to some normalcy of life. Met with a group last week of how, when, and where they can restart having the physical services of their church, and recognizing that we're at a time that it's very difficult to plan because it's like there's moving parts to this thing that you try to set a plan in motion and then everything changes. And so I love what I read in a book some years past. It's called The Present Future. And this guy was very prophetic, and it came out about 10 years ago. And he basically said things are going to change so rapidly and so violently as time goes on that the church is going to enter a time that planning will not work, that simply preparation is what is involved. So how do we prepare? Well, we see a little bit of this here in Joshua chapter 6. As Israel has crossed the Jordan, they're now facing what seems to be the insurmountable, unconquerable walls of Jericho. And last week, Joshua had a personal encounter with the pre-incarnate Christ, the captain of the Lord's army. And Joshua had asked him, whose side are you on? And of course, the captain of the Lord's army, the pre-incarnate Jesus, said, I didn't come to take sides, buddy. I came to take over. And I think that's where we're at now as Christians and as the church. God, just take over. And we want to be connected to you and committed to you and follow you all the way through in this. So in Joshua chapter 6 and verse 1, Jericho was securely shut up because of the children of Israel. None went in and none went out. And the reason why we know the two spies had gone in advance back in Joshua chapter 2, scouted out everything, got the reports, heard Saul, had that personal encounter with Rahab, and we'll get back to that in a moment. And they came back to Joshua basically and said, truly, the Lord has delivered all the land into our hands. Now, this is before they even crossed the Jordan. And this is their confidence in the ability of God, of the trustworthiness of His word. He's delivered all the land into our hands, for indeed all the inhabitants of the country are faint-hearted because of us. These people had heard of the exploits of Israel as they followed their God through the wilderness and have gotten to this place. The reputation has preceded them, and they fear this people that's coming into their land, their God. Now, they can't reveal that, so they're holed up in their walled fortress, hoping that they can win the day, hoping Israel will give up or go around or whatever, but it's not going to happen. And the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have given Jericho into your hand, its king and the mighty men of valor. I heard the statement years ago, you've heard it too, God said it, I believe it, that settles it. Well, let me just correct that a little bit. What it ought to say is, God said it, that settles it. Now, am I going to believe it or not? And the key is believing God at His word. God had promised them way back in Exodus chapter 23, verse 31, that He would deliver the inhabitants of the land into their hand and that they would drive them out before you. So there was God's part and their part. Always we're asked, what's God's part? What's our part? Well, God's part was, I will deliver the land into your hands. Your part is, Israel, you will drive out the inhabitants. It's kind of like Philippians chapter 2 and verse 12 and 13. What is God's part in my life? What is my part? Therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not so much in my presence, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. That's our part. What is God's part? For it is God who works in you both to will and to do of His good pleasure. It's not a 50-50, a 60-40. It is 100% God, 100% you, 100% me. So we go back and recognize it's a partnership. It's a dynamic, daily, dependent partnership working with God. And so as God is leading the way, they're following. As God is delivering, they are driving out the inhabitants of the land. And verse 3, you shall march around the city, all you men of war, you shall go all around the city once. This shall you do for 6 days. I heard Adrian Rogers years ago. I quote him a lot. I love the Adrianisms, as they call him. He's now with the Lord, but he said there's no panic in heaven, just plans. And so what is God's plan for us in this crazy, conflicted time we're living in, where you're only going to get his plans from his word, from his book? And he said it, he settled it. Now we're going to believe it. Are we going to follow? We're going to respond. So he's given the plan here. Look at this in verse 4. And 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. But the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priest shall blow the trumpets. 7, 7, 7, 7. 7 is a number of completion. We go back, and the law first mentioned God created the heavens and earth in 7 days. So what is going on here? God is going to complete what he started in their lives as they yield to him, believe him, trust him. And so we see this reality being played out. And what is God looking for? To get glory from us and from our enemies. You remember Rahab says, we've already heard about you. We've heard about your God. We believe your God is the only God. And the way we convince a world that is watching us is us believing and behaving like God is real and God can. Well, the word I wanted to give you, I've been asked to do some Wednesday Bible studies that will be delivered through HopesPoint.com. That's Hopes Point Church in Shelbyville, Indiana, HopesPoint.com. And so I've been doing Takeout Tuesdays for over a year now, and I'm just going to transition from Takeout Tuesdays to the Wednesday Bible study. So you can go to HopesPoint.com each Wednesday, get the Bible study. In fact, go there tomorrow and get it. And also archive. I preached the Sunday morning service there last Sunday, and you'll get the sermon, then you'll get the follow-up Bible study. Thanks for watching. Thanks for faithfully supporting, and we look forward. I've not retired. I'm just getting a fresh set of tires to keep going for the Lord. God bless you. See you soon.